Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing today? I have today a book haul, and I'm going to do it live. Why not? This was voted in that poll that I told you guys about. So this is the book haul that I got from Liberty States Fiction Writers Conference. There we go. So I want to tell you guys about these books. There are a lot of cool ones, a lot of I won't go on too long about each one, but I'll just show you each of them. Look at this stack. Huh? Pretty cool. Okay, so I paid for about one of these. Like, that's how many books were given away. And they would be either in a bag that you got for free, which is a really nice bag, by the way. It would be in a bag that you got for free, or they would be like you go to a meal and there's a book sitting at your place for free, waiting for you. Or, sometimes an author would just give you a book if they thought you might enjoy it. So there were a lot of opportunities to get free books. I do plan on reading these. I'm a slow pleasure reader, but I will be reading them. And some of these are traditionally published, some are indie. So yeah, Joe says, what a stack. It really is. So there's a great variety of genres in here, but I will say the most represented was romance romance was the heaviest. There's some amount of fantasy, but definitely romance was the biggest one, different kinds. So one thing I noticed was that there were a number of, let me grab a couple of them, medical romances. Now, this is not something I see everywhere. So that might be a genre that if you write romance, you may want to look into it. So these are two of the medical romances that I got. I hope you can see it. It looks okay here. This one's autographed. And they are both Susan Carlyle, but one of them has another extra author in it. It's 2 in 1. I thought this was cool because it has like a little character bookmark. I'll take it out and show you. This is a bookmark. Is this not adorable? And then on the back, it says her information. Hopefully that's not showing up backwards to you, but anyway. So that goes with her medical romance. And she is published by Harlequin. She may have been published by other places too in the past, but one is Harlequin, one is HarperCollins here. So it's very interesting because this, like I said, actually they're both autographed. Sorry, they're both autographed. And these are like those really small ones that you can find in little, where they sell them in like Rite Aid and stuff like that. You could probably find this kind of thing there. Very convenient, small, easy to carry around, which I like a lot. The medical romance is category contemporary romance, which, okay. But it's a Harlequin medical romance. So I don't know. I think they're getting both genres in there. And then this is also, actually, they're both Harlequin. One looks like it's UK. Well, anyway, pretty interesting. So I'll tell you a little bit about each one. Like I said, I'm not going to go on too long about them. This is a 2 in 1 book. Normally it costs £5.99, actually $5.99 in pounds, since it's Harlequin UK. And this one has a couple of descriptions, one for each of the books in here. So Surgeon's Cinderella, that one is Susan Carlyle's. And it says, Whitney Thomason prides herself on being able to find the perfect partner for anyone, but heart surgeon Tanner Locke is a real challenge. Locke is spelled but like my Mr. Locke, L-O-C-K-E. And when the date she arranges falls through, Whitney finds herself on his arm, posing as his girlfriend. They know giving into temptation is a bad idea, but desire is more powerful than reason. And then the second one is Saved by Dr. Dreamy. And that one is by Diane Drake. She was not at the conference, but Susan Carlyle was, and I was actually at her table and got the chance to talk to her. So this one by Diane Drake is Damian Caldwell can't understand why gorgeous, fiery Dr. Juliet Allen would hide herself away in the jungle. But he quickly learns not to underestimate the quiet strength of this auburn beauty. And when tragedy strikes, Damian finds himself on an unexpected mission to open Juliet's heart and convince her to take a chance on love. Okay, so those are, that's the mixed one. Hi, A.F. Stewart, thanks for coming. And then this one is Redeeming the Rebel Doc. This is also by Susan Carlyle. This is another signed one. This is Harlequin Medical Romance, but it looks like it is a USA version. So this is $6.25 USA. And this one is actually 253 pages, but it's large print. So if it was regular print, it'd probably even be shorter than that. This is probably a good quick read. It says, after successfully fighting a year-long lawsuit, handsome, rebellious surgeon Rex Maxwell is ready to get back on top of his game. So when buttoned-up but beautiful PR exec Tiffany Romano insists on making him the center of his hospital's campaign, he reluctantly agrees. And though she tries hard not to let him, Rex is determined to get under her skin. So it's a lot of two different types of people coming together, types of romances. And AF, since you just came in, I will show you this bookmark that is for this medical romance, which is really, really cool. And his head always sticks up above the book. So I'm sure that's done on purpose. It's pretty cool idea, something different. Okay, so those are the medical romances. Then we have a number of different kinds of books. Actually, some of them are darker. Some of them are a little bit fantastical. Very different. So let me just show you the next one on my list so we can move right along. The next one is Highland Dragon Rebel. Pronouncing two words at one time. Dawn of the Highland Dragon. Sounds like that is the name of the series. This is by Isabel Cooper. The publication date was actually November 2017. Here you go. It's a pretty cool cover. Very fantastical. Works with the Highland thing. After a long and bloody war, Scotland has finally won its independence, but Highland Dragon, I'm sorry that I can't pronounce these names. These are not from here. Moira Reed, I'm sure it's not pronounced that way. McAllister knows peace balances on the edge of a blade, and she will do anything to keep her homeland from falling into English control. I hope that they have pronunciations in here. There is an author, Hannah Peach, who does Irish romances, and she puts how you pronounce these names, and that's super, super helpful because it's not always super easy for those of us in the US. Even if that means escorting a powerful new ally into the other world itself and defending him with her life. Madoc of Avendos is on a critical mission to cement alliances against the British. Powerful men would kill to see him fail, but as he and his fiercely beautiful warrior fight their way through hostile lands, Madoc is faced with a difficult choice: sacrifice everything for the cause or let himself burn for the love of a Highland dragon. So it sounds like there is some amount of romance in here. And at the bottom, this is an advanced reader copy. This is an ARC. It has a number of the marketing and publicity campaign. Now, I haven't seen this on the back of an ARC. Hopefully you can see this. And if you do ARCs, hopefully this is helpful to you because like I said, I haven't seen this kind of thing before. And it says Source Books Casablanca. It says the Twitter. It says the Facebook. That's, again, something I don't see very often on the back of a paperback. So, I mean, why not? It's kind of a good idea, isn't it? And in between sections, she has these cool little fire things. And I think we all like those little breaks that are specific to a book. So anyway, just trying to show you a little bit of everything. This actually calls it a paranormal romance. Okay. I thought it was just fantasy. But it does say paranormal romance. And I've commented before that I really like when paperbacks put their genre on it. I think that's really cool. And we don't all do that. So just another thing that's cool. This one is called One Summer Night by Caridad Pinheiro. And she is a New York Times and USA Today bestselling author. This is named a Publishers Weekly Top 10 Fall Romance for 2017. Here it is. It's what's good about this is both the font and the cover really show you that it is a romance. So it's like super clear what it is. You don't need to see like what is the genre. Like with the other one that looks just like fantasy, it was interesting to see that it was paranormal because I wouldn't have really thought that. So this one's super clear. Maggie Sinclair has tried everything to save her family's business, including mortgaging their beloved beach house on the Jersey Shore, taking place in a particular, I've heard this so many times, if you set it in a real setting that people can then relate to and you like do events in that area, they always say it's a really good idea. But now she's out of options. The Sinclair and Pierce families have been neighbors and enemies for almost 30 years. That hasn't stopped Owen Pierce from crushing on Maggie, and he's determined to invest in her success. Now he has to convince her that he's more than just trouble with a capital T. And it actually has a little mini, a couple of, not ratings, but it says like a couple of reviews on the back that are particularly good for this author. So that's included. This one does not have I think this is the only one I've seen so far. This other one, Highland Dragon Rebel, that actually has like the Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that on the back. This one does not. And it has the little in-between things, but it's not quite as, it fits for the type of book. But it's not like, you know, with fantasy, if you have fire or something like that, it's very, very specific to the type of genre or anything. This one is $7.99 in the US. Dee Davis, this one is by Dee Davis. She was actually, I have two books here actually that are by keynote speakers at the conference. One was Julie Kenner and one was Dee Davis. And this Julie Kenner gave the big first keynote speech, and Dee Davis spoke after her. And then there was actually a Q&A panel with both of them, which was really, really cool, I have to say. I asked questions, even though they don't write my genre. They're more romance oriented. I still had questions for them, and they gave great advice. So, and their keynote speeches were brilliant. They were awesome. And they both told about the ups and downs of being a full-time author, even when you're traditionally published. And I thought that that was really great to hear that kind of a thing, because we often imagine that traditionally published authors have it a lot easier than indies, and they don't necessarily. It's still a roller coaster, and they both described it as a roller coaster. So I thought that was interesting. So here we have Dee Davis's book. On the back of her book, this is Hatchet. On the back of her book, she actually has images, or they have images rather, of two of her other books, which is pretty smart. So that would, you know, if you like this book, obviously you're going to look at the back and be like, oh, I can pick up these two other books that are bound to be similar. So this one is covert operations expert Nash Brennan has spent the last 8 years trying to forget Annie Gallagher, his former field partner and the only woman he ever loved. Annie betrayed him when he needed her most, then vanished without a trace. Now suddenly she's back in the game, this time as a suspected traitor and threat to national security. Annie's son has been kidnapped by political terrorists. The price for his life, assassinate a UN ambassador. So this is a little bit more complex. When Nash and his group find her, the smoldering passion between Annie and the man she swore she'd never contact again blazes out of control. But can Nash trust her? The stakes couldn't be higher. Their enemy's endgame is personal, and one false move could cost them their lives. Okay, so in this one, I'm not seeing the same breaks. No, there aren't really breaks in here where you have some kind of pretty thing in between. And the chapters are relatively short. And it's interesting because the side is actually orange, which you know is going to catch readers' attention. You don't see orange bindings very often. So it's definitely going to catch people's attention. Okay, and then this one by Julie Kenner. Oh, she has a card in it. So I'll show you. This is Wicked Dirty. She is a New York Times best-selling author. I'll read the back to you. It's really clever what she did here with the shoe. I really like that. And she also on the back has two pictures of other similar novels in the same either series, or it says actually standalone, but they're in the same vein, it looks like. And I'm just trying to see who published this. Martini and Olive Books. So on the back, as you see, she also has her covers. So this may be a thing that maybe indies want to think about for the back of the book. I'm thinking about it. And she also has this great business card in it. This is a free download, which is what makes it even more valuable as a business card. It's telling you what you can get for free from her. Free download, Down on Me by Jay Kenner, Man of the Month, Book 1. And then she has the website where you can grab it. So that's a pretty smart idea. Okay. On the outside, Lyle Tarpin is a clean-cut Hollywood actor whose star is on the rise. Inside, he's battling his own demons, shunning relationships and finding solace in the arms of a string of anonymous women paid very well for their discretion. But when he's photographed in a compromising position by an overeager reporter, the only way to save his career is to say that the woman he was with is his fiancée. And now Lyle has to play a very public game with the only woman who's ever managed to get under his skin. Struggling waitress Sugar Lane Agrees to spend one night with Lyle, but only because she's desperate to save her family home. She never expects that a night of passion will turn into a pretend engagement or that the heat between them will blossom into love. But sometimes love has a price. And now the only question is, can Lyle and Sugar afford to pay it? That's interesting. It's a different concept. That is not one that I hear every day, but at this, there are parts of it in every romance that people want to see. So a lot of times when you read romance, you find consistent tropes and stuff, but they're what's wanted, So that's an interesting sort of mix between the two. Okay, that was her book. Next, we have from City Owl Press. This is book 1 of the Marker Chronicles, Sorrow's Point by Danielle DeVore. And I met them. They were on a panel of literary agents and editors. They were really nice to talk to. And this is one of their books that they had they had a booth and they were selling this book. This was, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you the other costs. The D. Davis one was $6.99 US, and the Julie Kenner was, I'm actually not seeing a price on this one, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. And the one that we're up to now, Sorrow's Point, is $12.99 US. And on the back, they have more from the Chronicles, from the Marker Chronicles, including the sequel, Sorrow's Edge. So telling you that there is more to look forward to, and they have their own logo and everything down here. So that's, when I'm looking at the backs of these books, and they also have they have a quote down here, a little review quote. This is really making me think about the backs of my books and what I should be putting on them. So this is really interesting now that I'm looking at them a little bit closer. I like this inside. It's got something very distinctive to the book. I think that it's really good if you can put something super distinctive anywhere in the book to make it like, this is special. This is something unique from this author or this publisher or something like that. I'm going to read part of this because it's a little bit longer. When defrocked ex-priest Jimmy Holiday agrees to help an old friend with his sick daughter, he doesn't expect the horrors that await him. Blackmore, his friend's new residence, rests upon the outskirts of the town of Sorrow's Point. The mansion's history of magic, mayhem, and death makes it almost a living thing, a haunted mansion straight out of a Stephen King novel. Jimmy must decide if the young girl Lucy is only ill or if the haunting of the house and her apparent possession are real. That's interesting. I like that kind of stuff. And apparently the house appears to affect him as well. So kind of a cool premise. And for their section breaks, they just have just a regular, now I want to call it a hashtag, but it's a pound sign. Look what has happened because of social media. Okay. The next one is What We Kill by Howard O. Dents. And I think that this guy is an award winner. I will check for you though. So this is his cover. I like it. It continues on the back to look like that, which is really cool. Again, on the back, this is another book that has a couple of blurbs, like review blurbs at the top. And then it has a little mini bio of the author on the back. So this says, 4 lifelong friends wake in the woods overlooking the highway without any memory of how they got there. One has a triangle burned into his forearm. One has lost her pants. One is missing his glass eye. The last is covered in blood. As images of big black eyes and the cries of sheep haunt their addled brains, the town fire alarm and police sirens can be heard in the distance. What is happening to them? What is happening to their pristine town? What's more, why can't they remember any of it? What did they do? That's an interesting premise. This one is a larger size, as you can see. For example, this is Julie Kenner's book next to it. It is smaller, so this is definitely a bigger one, a little bit more difficult to carry around, but some people do that to make it slimmer. And then it has shorter chapters, which is very nice. It doesn't really have section breaks, but it does have like 2 to 3 page chapters. Okay. And that one is, $14.95. This one is a bit of a heavier one. This one I met the author, and I met an author that she co-authors with. I think these are both by the same, or maybe they're by different people who are sitting together. Or maybe they have pen names. I can't remember. But one is by Kathy Quick and one is P.K. Eden. So here they are. They're from the same booth for sure. I hope you guys can see these books. Yeah. And they are both signed for me. Okay, they have different fonts inside as well. Different fonts as in I'm talking like they just look very different from other types of books, which is not a bad thing. It's very distinctive. So this one is called Firebrand, and it says Amber Drake is the only person who can save 3 worlds from annihilation. One, only she doesn't know it yet. When the garden fell at the beginning of time, the first one divided what was left into 3. Humans, administered by the descendants of Adam and Eve. The Fae, watched over and protected by those who came from the angel of the garden. Trolls, ruled by those who evolved from the snake who tempted. Each world was given a sword to protect those who would come and hope for the future in the form of a prophecy that foretold the coming of one born of all 3 bloodlines who could bring peace and harmony to all worlds and restore the garden to glory. But the Tribred's birth also initiates a series of events that start the arpeggio clock to begin the countdown to Armageddon, and not everyone wants the clock to stop. So this is this sounds like fantasy, and isn't this sounds pretty? They have like pink and purple pens that they signed with, and they were very, very sweet. They were the 2 authors that were at this booth were really, really sweet, and they co-author things together. So their section breaks look more like an infinity sign here. And I'm not sure how much it costs. It doesn't say on the back. Then this other one, Solid Gold Bachelor. Looks like it's going to be a mix of crime and romance. This is by Kathy Quick. Again, one of the authors sitting at the same place, same booth, excuse me. And this is As the Small Town of Hillsborough, New Jersey. Again, we are naming a particular town in a state, and this is, New Jersey is where she was at the conference. Prepares to welcome rock star and former resident Shane Fox. Accountant Carly Mitchell steels herself to face Shane. He was someone she loved long ago and buried deep in her heart after he left. Now he is coming home. Shane Fox, leader of superstar group The Rangers, contracted a benefit concert for Hillsborough's Victims of Abuse Center for a specific reason. Carly, he needs to bury his demons and explain why he left. First, he must rebuild her trust. Carly and Shane's fragile truce is shattered when a fanatic groupie announces he is the father of her child. When the fan is found dead after the concert, the paparazzi goes wild. Will the past repeat itself as #1 suspect Shane goes on the run to clear his name? Or will the truth behind his decade-ago disappearance surface in time to save Carly from the real killer? And she also, at the bottom, mentions Facebook and Twitter, and it looks like the publishing company. So this is another person who has this information at the bottom. I'm really thinking about that now. It's a really smart thing to do. And this also does not have a cost listed on the back. See if it has any kind of, it just has asterisks as the separators. Okay, we are reaching the last 4 books. So this is Hope at Christmas. This is the one that I bought. This is the only one I bought. Nancy Nagel, USA Today bestselling author. And I bought hers because I was able to get it signed, and she actually, her books are being made into Hallmark movies. So I wanted a signed copy. And she was giving out like the cutest little giveaways that were at her booth, that were these little bags that had all Christmas related things, like little teas and little candies and stuff like that, all related to Christmas. She has a bunch of things in here. Hopefully you can see a bookmark and something advertising her books. Okay, so this is published by St. Martin's Griffin. And like I said, this is actually not the only one of her books that is being put on Hallmark. So it was really cool to meet someone whose movies are being currently made. Whose books are currently made into movies. Her separators are very faint, but there are these little holly type things. And it is supposed to be a heartwarming Christmas story. So I'm going to read part of the back, but it is rather long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. Sydney Ragsdale is looking for a fresh start far away from her controlling ex-husband and the self-doubt that has plagued her since the divorce. Returning to her childhood home in Hopewell, North Carolina is just what her soul needs. Praying some Christmas magic will follow her, she moves with her daughter to a farmhouse that once belonged to her grandparents. While there, Sydney finds solace working at the Book Bee, her favorite bookstore. Well, that automatically interests me. Single dad Kevin McAlley, Mac to his friends, is the high school history teacher and baseball coach. He is also the town's best kept secret. He has been playing Santa since his son was born 12 years ago. Mac loves the enchantment of the season and wants his son to share in his joy. Okay, and then it goes on from there. She was super, super nice, super, super nice for some, especially like I'm always surprised when someone is extremely personable and willing to share pointers when there's such a big deal, you know? So for me, it was like, oh, wow, I'm talking to someone who actually has books made into movies. And I didn't expect her to want to take a ton of time with me and my friend who is just starting to get into writing. She's been writing for a while, but she wants to now start getting into submitting somewhere or publishing. And so, she, you know, this woman was answering all kinds of questions and completely patient, which was awesome. This one is called, oh, I'm sorry, how much did that cost? That one is $15.99. And the thing that most of these people that were doing that was very smart is doing some kind of a discount to buy directly from them a signed copy. This one is called The Corpse Whisperer, Corpse Whisperer by Chris Redding. Here you go. I have 3 of Chris Redding's books here. And I believe I actually won these in a basket, which is exciting because I never win anything. So I was pumped. This one actually, I think this is an older one of hers, I want to say. 2010. So this is a little bit older one of hers. It actually doesn't have anything on the back. So I brought up the description on Amazon. It says a paramedic who can talk to dead people to crack their murders will lose her power on her rapidly approaching 30th birthday. She has one more crime to figure out before that can happen. So that's the description here. I don't believe, it's just asterisks for the section separators. It is a very thick book, but at the same time, it's also double spaced. You can see that this is formatted quite differently. On Amazon, this is $11 because it doesn't say on the back. And then she actually did, these are also her books. And she also did it was a panel, or it wasn't a panel. It was actually a lecture where she was talking about all the different ways you can make money as a writer. So if you decided to quit your full-time job, how to spread yourself out to make money from different income streams and what you can look into to bring money in. So this one is called The Drinking Game by Chris Redding. These are matte, so they don't reflect as much. I'm not having as much trouble showing them, which is really nice. It's a slim but tall one. And it says a homicide detective and an FBI profiler must join forces to track down a serial killer. Too bad the detective just wants to retire and the profiler is on medical leave. While fighting crime, they fight their growing attraction for each other. So I'm sure a lot of people would like that type of, that's a super popular type of book. And I'm sure a lot of people would like it. These are the section breaks that she has, a little bit different than just a typical asterisk. So that is, I think that's about it. This one is not double spaced, by the way. This is more like what you're used to typically seeing. So there you go. And then this one is A View to a Nerd, and it is not for resale. I think this might be an ARC copy since it says it's not for resale. This one is also more recent. Here you go. If you could, I think you can see that. This is the last one in my list. And it also has her bio on the back. We've seen that with one other author. Waking up next to a dead guy can ruin your whole day when when a wisecracking interior decorator wants to put her past behind her. The dead body of the mayor's son makes it pretty clear that won't happen too easily. A conservative former computer geek for the FBI is holding on too tightly to his past. His wife died under suspicious circumstances, and he believes the decorator has the information to solve the case. Unfortunately for him, she isn't taking until a series of events convinces her she needs protection, especially when her biggest secret threatens to destroy both their lives. And it says this is book 2 in the Nerds Saving the World series. It also had a name change, and on the back it says originally published as A View to a Kilt. So it does say like what it used to be called, just in case you find this book later on and you're like, hey, I thought this was called something different. So let's see. This one is also double spaced, but again, it's an ARC copy. I think it's an ARC copy. And it just has asterisks as the separators. So that's it for what I got from there. Again, I only paid for one of these books, but I do plan on reading all of them. And I will let you guys know what I think of them as I go through them. what we learned here today is pretty interesting. I like this trend of putting like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that on the back of the book so that people can just see that you have these platforms and just connect with you without even having to necessarily, even if they aren't going to buy the book, they can be like, oh, let me look this author up on Facebook and connect with them so that maybe in the future I'll buy a book, or I just want to see what else they're up to, stuff like that. That was really cool. So that was one of the things. And yeah, I have to say that this bookmark being so different really caught my attention. So even though I'm not necessarily someone who's going to automatically pick up medical romances, I just thought it was interesting to see something very, very different than a typical bookmark. And I think there was something else I wanted to mention. The idea of putting some of your reviews, quick review sentences on the back, and even the amount of stars you got, especially if they're like RT Book Reviews, you know, that's a magazine, I believe. I want to say it's a magazine. Putting that kind of stuff on the back, also an interesting idea. You know, maybe you guys have seen this. I have not necessarily seen all of these before. So they're making me think what I may want to do. And also, that was the other thing I wanted to mention, putting the other books in a series or even just other books by the author on the back so you can actually see what they're called and you can see what they look like. I think that's a great idea. I think that's brilliant. Joe says it's just such great marketing, the bookmark that is. Yeah, I think so too. And it's interesting to have like a totally different shape. So again, that's going to stand out. The two things that I saw that would stand out were this bookmark and Dee Davis's orange, bright orange on the side of her book. That's going to catch your eye. I mean, look at the majority of these books. I'll just hold up a few. I'm not picking any in particular. This is just part of my pile. We've got blues and some darker reds and blacks and stuff like that. Let's see what else. We've got more blues. Apparently blue is a very popular color for the side of a book. Again, green, blue, black. And then you've got orange, right? So that's going to stand out a lot. That's going to catch people's eyes on a bookshelf and they're going to look. And Joe is saying that is a great idea with the books too. Yeah, I think so too. So part of what I wanted to do here was not only introduce you to hopefully some new indie and traditional authors, but to show you some ways, some different ways people are going about putting their book covers together, whether it's a publishing company or an individual person. So anyway, I wanted to review that stuff with you. And as I was going through, I was realizing even more things about it. And the other, one more thing that I'm going to stick in here to say that I really appreciate is when it says on the back what genre it is, just to be sure. So you have medical romance down here. You have contemporary romance here. I had told someone else at a different con that I really appreciated that because sometimes, you know, the cover from the cover, you might think it's something a little bit different or from the title, and to just see and be sure, like sort of what is it I'm buying, you know, or what multiple genres it is. I think that's a great idea. So anyway, those are the books that I got from Liberty States Fiction Writers Conference. And I hope that you enjoyed going through some of these and seeing the different ways people put these books together, hearing what's out there right now, what's being sold at book cons, especially more general book cons that are not like specifically fantasy, specifically mystery. I think it's pretty interesting to see, you know, what exactly are the, you know, my words are not good today. I don't know why, but anyway, the patterns, what is going on consistently. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to have a very special video coming up on April 30th. So you guys are going to want to be here for that pre-recorded video. It's going to be an interesting announcement and I can't wait to put it up. And before that, of course, we're going to have the next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That will be Writer Conference's Do's and Don'ts. That one is specifically requested. I believe it was by Joe Compton and other people voted on it too. So I will be doing that Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern and then April 30th. You want to be here for my pre-recorded video. It's some big news. So anyway, thank you guys again so much for coming and I will see you soon.